can have analysis paralysis, but it's taking a moment. If nothing else, it's taking time. And it's something personally that, I mean, I've grieved my own life by making poor decisions, let alone, and when I see them, I have within the body, and it's always been a burden for me to see decisions made like that. And in our past situation, we saw some very ill-conceived decisions made and some huge repercussions of them. But there was no way we had the other spirits of enabling that were encouraging that. All that's so sweet, all that's so wonderful, how precious. Instead of those two people don't belong together any more than fire and water. It just, and jumping in haste and things. And I've lived them, I know. It's not said with condemnation, it's said with experience. One of the things I was thinking too when you were going through the other pages, and you were talking about the kind of the things we're drawn to, right? And I would throw out a challenge for all of us is, within, let's say, the Torah movement, the Messianic movement, the whatever, and as many people, the ones growing in their knowledge, they're still often addicted to the preachers, the evangelists, the televangelists, the teleteachers, the Torah teleteachers, whoever. To me, it's just something through time that I've become almost sickened by, and I just can't be a part of it. So I just have to stay away from it, because just about all of them are pushing, selling, have an agenda. When the agenda is his heart and his relationship, the purity, it's different, but so little of that is, right? And I'm not saying that as some big judgment. I'm saying I think we ought to challenge ourselves just like we need to in gossip and other things, right? That challenge yourself. Why are you attracted to that? Why do you still listen or follow or seek after that? Because there is a form of emotional addiction to it. Great stories, inspiring, colorful, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? The sexy gospel. I don't know,
it's like the guy down south that calls himself the Antichrist and has thousands of people clamoring to him and going to the tattoo parlors and getting tattooed with 666 and thinking this guy's actually calling himself Jesus Christ, but people are easily deceived.
Yes.
And they buy things hook, line, and sinker. But like we talked about Wednesday, there will be false prophets in the day. But we also talked about, and this is important, I think, that it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a prophet, because we have a lot of well-intentioned ministers, preachers, pastors that are teaching doctrines that have been around for 1,700 years, and they can't help but teach this. They go to seminary, this is what they're taught, they come out, and without researching it any further, this is what they teach. And the people that they teach it to, that's what they live. This is what my pastor said, this is the way it is. Again, it goes back to, we have the responsibility to research what the Word says and show one another love and respect by actually saying, hey, what you said the other day was a little bit flaky. I found this. So.
It's interesting that some of the groups that we nowadays associate with the Great Escape, the Rapture, and so forth, and whatever you want to call it. And in my lifetime, though, some of the denominations that are associated with that, they were not that way at all. They were totally anti that. And it crept in because of the emotions of people and all the books and all the stories.
Well, this is...
and it's amazing how they kind of came to it, and they were totally opposed in their doctrinal positions and whatever. We're not of that.
And this is a doctrine that's a little over 100 years old.
Right.
But we have doctrines like this. We have doctrines, a lot of the doctrines that we have, because of, I guess, the dropping of the ball by the rabbis during the time of Yeshua. The Jews had the responsibility given to them at Sinai to teach the word. Yeshua taught. The Jews should have picked up on this and taken it to the Gentiles and taught. Not the other way around, because when you have the Gentiles taking it,
Right.
then they're trying to teach it from their point of view. And if you try to study Torah or Brit Hadashah from a Greek or Greco-Roman point of view, you miss the subtleties of Hebraic thought that are found throughout it. And if you can't take these little things that Paul says and find your way all the way back to Bereshis, where he got it because of a certain thought process that occurred in a single verse, an obscure verse. We saw obscure verses mean a whole lot more than what we read them to be. So this is why, again, it's so important for us to go back and study the Word. It's like Paul told Timothy, we have to study to show ourselves approved. And that's actually the Aramaic equivalent of that verse, is study. You know, we have a lot of versions that say, be diligent. But the Aramaic literally says, study to show yourself approved.
When you say study, you know, we study it. But sometimes I see it as when I'm reading it, I'm seeing it as how I was taught all my life. Now, of course, you have, and he has opened my eyes to a lot of things, but when you're studying, how do you know, which is, I mean, it's just, to me, it's complicated sometimes.
What I tell people,
The scripture is saying something, but it means totally something else.
what I tell people a lot of times is, you know, it's one thing to read. We read the stories so that we can draw from the stories to remember what this says and what that says.
There's a
But
value in that.
to sit down, there's
Right,
a tremendous
right.
value in that.
Absolutely.
Because we read it enough times, we're able to remember where it is. But when we study, to study isn't to try to read an entire paragraph or an entire chapter, because by the time you've gotten to the third or fourth word, say in the book of Bamidbar, by the time you've gotten to the third or fourth word, you're wondering if you turned off the light in the closet, did you take out the trash, did I feed the cat? When we're going to study,
That's
when we're going to study, take a single verse, take a single phrase, take a single word, a single letter. We have it in Hebrew and English. Why did they use this word for began? They could have used another word for began. They could have used reshit. Okay? But instead they used halal. Why did they use halal? Halal means to profane, it means to pollute. Why did they use that word for began?
Was that looks like challah the bread?
Well, challah, not challah. Halal.
Meaning no H on the end?
Well, there is an H, but there's just one L. So,
Oh, it's the number of L's. Okay, I was going.
So, but why? Why did they use this word instead of that word? Why does the English have a word there that the Hebrew doesn't use at all? We've seen that a number of times. But the question is to always ask why. What does this mean? Why, when I read, and Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Israel. What does that mean? What does it mean to join himself, why not herself, to Baal Peor? Why not the children of Israel? It simply says, and Israel joined. So it's just questions. It's a process of asking questions. Why? Did I answer your question about
Yes,
the
you did.
emotions?
I feel kind of lucky sometimes because I have a teacher, you know, and when I'm studying, I can go and say, what does this mean? But then sometimes I do see myself, it's revealed to me. But then I'll go and say, is this what this means? Am I on the right track?
We were talking recently about how so many people will get out whichever translation of the Bible that they use, and then they'll pull out maybe another translation or a commentary, a Christian commentary, and that's studying, and they don't know how to go any further. You know, they don't know that there's any more depth to it than what
And
they have there.
for
It's hard.
English studiers,
That's pretty good for English.
you really can't. And you know,
It is.
maybe this is kind of biased towards Hebrew, but you really can't study the Torah without understanding the Hebrew. I mean, it was written in his language for a reason, and he wrote it in his language for a reason.
That's one of the foundations of this
But
whole
we take,
effort.
I used to, exactly what you said, I had King Jimmy, and I would take King Jimmy, this is years and years and years ago when I was first starting out, and I would take American Standard Version, and then I would take another version, and I would compare English words. Why did they use these words? Until
And really in
it
depth
finally
when you
hit
did
me,
Greek. Yeah.
These aren't really telling me anything because one English word is no different than another English
I know
word.
hard enough time in Hebrew. You know, when Michael first started.
Remember, that's the really spiritual thing out there, you know. Oh, it's the Greek origin of it.
I'm going to ask you something. Now that we have all the Hebrew words right in here, is there a place on the web that you can type in the Hebrew words to give you the meaning? Because that will be lovely if you can do that.
There's a lot of Hebrew translators out there. The old-fashioned way is to get the concordance, and you find the word, and it'll tell you to give you the Strong's number, and you can go back to the Hebrew and find it, and then break it down.
That's how I do it.
We do that in the Sword app on our
On the
phones.
telephone, there's,
On the
and I
Sword.
don't know if you can get, I haven't really tried, but this is My Sword for Android.
What were you going to
I
ask?
don't have a phone, remember?
Yeah.
She doesn't understand.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
I've got
Surely you
really
could probably
nice
bring it up on
computer.
the
But I
computer
don't know.
too.
I don't know if there's this type of
You
program.
can't bring it up on your sewing machine.
I have a
But if
You
there's
might.
But when
this
she
type of
finds it,
program
she
in the
can print it.
computer, I don't know. But
Yeah, she finds-
like
she
this
finds
one
it, she
here
can print it and-
in King James, you can click on the word, and it gives you the Hebrew word, and then it'll give you all the definitions, and it'll give you the
What is
roots.
the website?
I'm not sure what the website is. I know that on the Android, it's
You can try My Sword.
called
I'm
My
sure
Sword.
I should
My Sword
try it
for
too.
Oh,
Android.
you've got these one.